In this video, I aim to talk about every college football team's season this year using when they were eliminated from the playoffs as a framing device. You'd think this would be a pretty easy video to make, right? No! College football is not the NFL. The playoffs are not built upon raw wins and losses. It's picked by a select few of the most elite ball knowers on the entire planet. Yeah, it's hard to tell here, but I promise, they really know ball. And said committee will only let you into their playoff if they think you're one of the top 5 ranked conference champions, or if they think you're one of the 7 next most worthy at-large teams. You disagree with them? Then go Florida State yourself. What I'm saying is figuring out what week 133 teams in college football were eliminated in is complicated. So I created some ground rules. Before the final week when things get simpler, in my eyes, there's 2 ways to be eliminated. 1, you lose enough games that you won't be making your conference championship game. 2, you lose enough games that even if you ran the table from that point on and won the conference championship, there's no way you'd be one of the 5 highest ranked conference champions. And here's a quick disclaimer for me to send you back to if you disagree with any of my methodology here. But one final thing I'll say about this video is, don't only skip to the parts about teams you care about. Doing that misses both the entire point of this video and the entire point of college football as a whole, and makes you no better than an SEC shill. Don't be an SEC shill. No one likes them. Because you know what the best part is about this new playoff system? Everybody starts at the beginning of the year with the chance to win it all. Now let's start thinning the herd.
Week 3 elimination.
The funniest part about Jacksonville State being first on this list is that they ended up winning the Conference USA. That sort of tells you everything about this conference. Even if Kennesaw State was eligible for the playoffs this year, which they weren't, they would have been eliminated here regardless. Hey, and they also fired their coach, which means they get the first fatality of this video. We're going to be hearing a lot of that early on. Yeah, there's virtually no way for UConn to make the playoffs as it currently stands. Any independent basically has to be ranked in the top 10 at the end of the year to make it. And same too goes for UMass. Sorry, UMass.
Fatality. Week 4 elimination.
Even with not playing a game week 1, Ball State's hopes were over quick, and the goodwill from the 2020 season had dried up.
Fatality.
When a team loses to a 6-6 FCS team on their homecoming, you can probably consider them eliminated from the playoffs.
Fatality.
Also, FIU needs a new logo. How is this not a fatality? Kent State literally didn't win a single game this year. Hey, do you know who Middle Tennessee's coach is right now? Derek Mason. Vandy fans know what I'm talking about. New Mexico State is the poster child of what happens when an entire coaching staff and team leaves in an offseason. Thanks, college football. If you're in the Conference USA or MAC, you can't lose all 4 of your non-conference games if you want to make the playoffs, which is exactly what UTEP did. I know this does seem a bit early with a Mountain West team making the playoff this year and with Wyoming almost beating that team. There's just no way a 4-loss group of 5 team is making the playoffs even as a conference champ.
Week 5 elimination.
Another early exit for Akron, but 4 wins this season does tie them for the most wins they've had since 2017 at least. Yikes. Dude, you lost 47-3 to UConn. You're out of here. Louisiana Tech should be one of the better teams in Conference USA. Keyword being should. Maybe fire your coach. Well, truly eliminated in this Fresno State drubbing, New Mexico's season was actually over when they lost to FCS Montana State in week 0.
Hassan Wilson to the goal line. Is he across? He is. It's a touchdown.
Fatality.
Temple is a failing football program. They really need to get out of that cavern of a football stadium, but that's never gonna happen. At least they're trying something new by firing Stan Drayton.
Fatality.
Western Kentucky losing this game was a huge blunder that no one's gonna remember, but they were up 22-7 against a 3-1 Boston College. But alas, they blew.
Pressure. He gets hit from behind. The ball is loose, and BC recovers it. He throws off his back foot to the end zone. Touchdown!
Oh well. Beating Marshall could have put Western Michigan on the Group of 5 map. Keyword being could have.
Week 6 eliminations.
Well, last year was fun, huh, Air Force? Keep reminiscing on that. App State fans, I'm just happy you're happy that Sean Clark is fired.
Fatality.
Hey, you want to see the entirety of Florida State's season summed up in one play?
Intercepted. Kobe Wilson to pick. Still on his feet. Allen 2 tackles, and Wilson will score.
And yes, if you weren't paying attention, that was the first Power 4 team so far this video.
Has that one fan eaten this shit yet?
Unfortunately, Miami could not recreate last year's magical season this time around.
Oh, they're setting this up for Nash to throw it. He's got a wide open man. He's got the football. Touchdown, Spartan.
Wow, did that Kevin Wilson hire not pan out? Tulsa was terrible this year.
Fatality.
How is this not a fatality? Are they trying to kill UAB football again? Did you see how many fans were in the stands of their brand new stadium this year? Trent Dilfer is such a clown. I'd love to say losing to Temple the game prior would be grounds enough for disbarment from the playoff, but this obliteration by Boise State gets the job done too. Troy felt the burn of John Summerall being gone this year. They got a bit better as the season went on at least.
Week 7 elimination.
I know Jed Fish left, but what the hell happened to Noah Fafita this year? He was painfully mid. I think people forgot that Bowling Green I think people forgot that Bowling Green played Penn State and Texas A&M close this year, but you're not making the playoffs with 4 L's, conference champ or no. I'm not gonna pretend to know anything about Central Michigan, so just...
Fatality.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Eastern Michigan either. Sorry, there's a lot of teams here.
Remember when Georgia State beat Vanderbilt, who then beat Alabama? That was funny. Anyway, they then lost 7 in a row, including this loss to Old Dominion. Hawaii's biggest football storyline this year was off the field. That's about all there is to say there. Boy, Mississippi State sucks. Well, this was a fucking insane schedule looking back. Better luck next year. I mean, it's fine. This was Oregon State's first year with Trent Bray, and they survived pretty long as a functional independent, although this was still a pretty pathetic loss. This 1-point loss to Illinois in overtime was Purdue's highlight of their season. Get Ryan Walters out of here.
Fatality.
The Will Hall era mercifully comes to an end. Holy shit.
Fatality.
Toledo had an away SEC win on their resume. Yeah, I know it was Mississippi State, but that could have held some water had they not been crushed by Buffalo in this game. UCLA doomed. They were already one of the middest teams in the Pac-12 lately, and now they're in the Big Ten. Blowing close games like this one to Minnesota won't help. Well, this was a step back for y'all's hype this year, huh? This last-second loss was the cherry on top of a terrible first half for the post-Frank Harris Roadrunners. They ended on a higher note, at least.
Week 8 elimination.
Hugh Freeze is the new Jimbo Fisher, in my opinion. Enjoy a season of painful losses, including this one at the last minute to Mizzou. Hope those recruiting classes turn in the win soon, Auburn. Well, Cal had college game day, and then lost to Florida State because of missed field goals. Can they redeem themselves and walk it off against NC State?
No good! He pushed it to the right!
What happened? Shouldn't Coastal be the class of the Sun Belt? Was Grayson McCall their entire team? ECU was terrible. Fired Mike Houston.
Fatality.
Interimized Blake Harrell, and then won 4 in a row. Congrats on your permanent promotion, Harrell. Do you understand what Texas fans were saying about Tom Herman now, FAU?
Fatality.
This Tulane fan would like to thank Kentucky for not firing Mark Stoops yet. Tune in next year when they probably do. Liberty lost to Kennesaw State, a team that had never won a game as an FBS team, who would only win one other game this season. Get eliminated on that alone. Wow, this game might be the turning point for Oklahoma State this season. They're beating BYU. Wait, what are you doing?
Downfield, caught! Broken tackle! Lassiter! Touchdown! Are you kidding me?
Anyway, this loss to Miami was Ohio's nail in the coffin, even though they ended up winning the MAC. Try a bit harder next year in the non-conference, please. Oh wait, they're playing Ohio State next year for the 4th time ever? God damn it, why couldn't Tim Albin stay one more year? Think of the memes, Tim. You know what? Props to Sam Houston. In their 2nd year in the FBS, they were a Western Kentucky loss away from being in the thick of it for Group of 5 discussion. Shame Casey Keeler got poached for Temple. Well, here's hoping Captain Andrew Luck can right this ship, because as of right now, Stanford is a lost program. No playoffs for you. Tough start to the year for UCF, but they are beating an undefeated Iowa State team at home. Just gotta hold on for one more minute.
Time is back. Contact and a late flag.
Oh, come on now.
Fatality.
Your new coach is Scott Frost again? What the fuck? Hey, remember this play call that was all over Twitter? Well, USC proceeded to blow this lead in embarrassing fashion.
Edwards! Touchdown, Maryland!
Lincoln Riley football, baby.
Week 9 eliminations.
Quite the unfortunate season indeed for BC, who is up 27-10 and lost this game, ending what little playoff hopes they had. Beating a ranked at the time Florida State was fun at least. Well, the Biff experiment was fun while it lasted, huh, Charlotte? Hey, maybe if they didn't blow this horrific lead to Memphis, he'd still be here.
It's a grab! Rock Taylor!
Fatality.
Remember when Georgia Southern almost beat Boise State in week 1? Imagine how different this year would have gone if that had happened. Oh well, they got obliterated by Old Dominion. They're done. Honestly, I don't know why I put Kansas this far back here. I'm just too lazy to change all my graphics now. Realistically, they were eliminated 2 weeks ago and they lost their 5th close game in a row. This Kansas State loss, though, is a good candidate for their most painful loss of the year.
And then, of course, Kansas beat 3 ranked teams in a row in dominant fashion later this year, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
I gave Northern Illinois the benefit of the doubt here because of the Notre Dame win.
It's blocked! It's blocked! It's blocked! Picked up by NIU! Picked up by NIU! The Huskies!
Yeah, remember when that happened? But with the Ball State loss, they fell to 4-4, and there's no way a 4-loss conference champ is sniffing the playoffs. Sorry, Huskies. I can't lie, I didn't watch a single down of Northwestern football this year. Their Lakeside Stadium is cool, though. Oklahoma does realize that they need an offense to win games in the SEC, right? Oh wait, you beat Alabama later. All is forgiven. Man, Rutgers had some dark horse hype this year, too. Better luck next time. Why is SDSU so far back here? That's you. That's what you sound like for any other one of these teams, by the way. Well, a 10-3 SDSU conference champ could have certainly had a chance to make the playoffs, but they blew it against the first one. Boy, was this a disappointment. Utah got bit by the injury bug, and Kyle Whittingham isn't getting any younger. Anyone who loses to 2024 Houston doesn't belong in the playoffs. Virginia's still got some ways to go, but is trending upwards. Keep it up.
Week 10 eliminations.
That win against Tennessee could have lifted Arkansas up if not for this obliteration at home against Ole Miss. A question starting to be raised about Sam Pittman yet. Fresno State's still looking for some identity after Jeff Tedford left them again, punctuated by this last-second Hawaii loss. Not an ideal first year for Jonathan Smith. The Spartans got obliterated by every good team they played this year. Hey, remember when I made a Nebraska one-score games video, and then they lost another one-score game literally a week later? That was funny. Oh, and then they lost 2 more after that too? Hell yeah. Louisiana Monroe's most famous moment this season was this guy. And no, I'm not pulling this out of my ass. This happened in the game they got eliminated in, so it counts. Old Dominion was actually challenging for the Sun Belt crown before losing this game and then 2 after it. We'll see next year if they do anything to separate themselves from the crowd. South Alabama was out with this loss to Georgia Southern, but they definitely got better as the year went on. We'll see how they do next year Napa White sophomore campaign. Also, I can't criticize FIU's logo while letting this one go scot-free. Please get a better logo. Texas State had so much hype and frankly a lot of talent too, but came up short with 5 close losses this year. Are they trying to be the Nebraska of the Sun Belt? At least they're keeping GJ Kinney around.
Week 11 eliminations.
In reality, by this point in the season, Arkansas State's resume wasn't really holding up to the other G5 conference champion wannabes, but this obliteration certainly cemented it. Another team that suffered at the hands of an insane schedule, but is showing some life. Maybe next year will be the year they break the shoe throw curse and actually be good again. Technically, Iowa wasn't out until the following week, but this cringe loss is the reason why. This game was the final straw, eliminating Michigan.
Sorry, I meant Maryland. Michigan's the next one. Spoilers.
From both conference championship contention and from getting a quality win this year. Sorry, Maryland, USC does not count. Hey, Michigan
See, I told you they were next.
still has a good defense. It's a shame their offense couldn't do a thing all year. They did beat Ohio State, though. A painful fourth quarter collapse against your former quarterback. For shame, Minnesota. By my calculations, UNC's hopes to make the ACC championship and thus win and you're in the playoffs were lost during their bye this week.
Fatality.
Your new coach is Bill Belichick. What the fuck? What slim chance NC State had to make the ACC champ game was extinguished with this loss at home against Duke. A lot of people are hyping up North Texas as a dark horse candidate in the AAC due to their offense, but then they lost to Memphis, Tulane, and now failed an ungodly amount of times times in the red zone against Army. This 16-point swing by BC in the third quarter is going to live in Syracuse fans' minds for a while, though it took SMU winning the following week to put the nail in the coffin on their hopes. Still a promising first year for Fran Brown, though. Alabama win, close loss to Texas? I see you, Vandy. Unfortunately, so does South Carolina. At least Pavia's coming back next year, though. Well, this was a step back for Virginia Tech's hype this year, huh? Well, Wake, that's back-to-back 4-win seasons. Looks like your golden age under Dave Clawson is over, which was confirmed by him retiring at the end of the year.
Fatality.
I know they were on their last legs already, but if Washington had run the table here with wins against Penn State and Oregon, they're in the playoffs. Of course, they got destroyed by both.
Week 12 elimination.
Hey, remember when Cincinnati started 5-2 this year? Those were the days. Following in their rivals' footsteps, Duke was also eliminated on their bye week this year. Thanks, SMU. Same too goes for Georgia Tech. A good season for both these teams, though, despite that, who are for sure on the up and up. Willie Fritz went 4-8 in his first year at a new school. Where have I heard that before? Massive L from Louisville here, blowing a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, turning the ball over on downs with 10 seconds left in a tie game before giving up an unsportsmanlike conduct and an offsides penalty, putting Stanford in walk-off field goal range.
It's good! Stanford with the walk-off!
You blew it, man.
Brian Kelly sucks. The committee disrespected Mizzou all season and was rewarded for their disrespect with this painful L at South Carolina. Memphis destroyed UAB this week as everyone expected, but was eliminated from AAC contention due to 2 gross conference losses earlier, plus with Navy losing to Tulane. Speaking of that, Navy's offense got nothing against Tulane's D, and then Blake Horvath got injured, which set that in stone. Hey, at least they beat Army, though. If Pitt had won this game, their conference record would have been 4-2 with a tiebreak against eventual conference champ Clemson. And then Pitt
Inside the 35, he's going to go! Cade Klubnik, touchdown Clemson!
And then was intercepted on 4th and 1 just outside of the red zone to cement their utter collapse this season. Hey look, San Jose State is playing Boise State super close. I know they blew a massive lead already, but they just converted a 4th down.
Oh, the ball's loose! Boise State has it! Virgin
Washington State had easily the best shot out of all the non-Notre Dame independents to make the playoffs. Then they lost to New Mexico. And now they've lost their quarterback and coach too. Rip in peace. Wisconsin.
You blew it, man.
You, for all intents and purposes, got eliminated last week, but you had one of the best chances anyone had all year to beat Oregon and just lost it.
Week 13 elimination.
Colorado State actually was in the driver's seat to play Boise State in the Mountain West Championship before choking to Fresno State. Here's another L of mine I'm too lazy to fix. The fact that Indiana and Ohio State played each other this week meant Illinois was already eliminated from the Big Ten Championship and thus the playoffs before this week began. Oh well, that Minnesota L is really what hurts looking back. James Madison was 8-2 with a still hilarious 70-50 win against UNC on their resume. Unfortunately, their 2 losses were in conference, but there was still a chance here to do something incredible, which was extinguished when App State got them here. Oh, I'm sorry. Is 3-loss Kiffin crying on Twitter again? Sorry, Lane. I can't hear you over the best quarterback you've had since Eli Manning throwing unlimited interceptions in crunch time to Florida. Maybe if you weren't the most overrated coach in the SEC, you'd actually be in the playoff instead of making a public ass of yourself every season. It's okay, Lane. I have a prescription for your ailment. My treat. A massive fucking mirror.
Week 14 elimination.
So let's talk about the Big 12 Conference Championship chaos. There was a whole massive web of possible outcomes this week based on all these individual games. So let's go through them now. First of all, TCU was sort of eliminated before the week began, but whatever. At least they weren't as bad as last year. Now, Colorado murdered Oklahoma State, eliminating both Texas Tech, a team who I literally didn't watch play a down of football this year, and also West Virginia, who was actually the big winner here because this game got Neil Brown fired.
Fatality.
Your new coach is Rich Rodriguez again? What the fuck? What is happening this offseason? Next, Baylor destroyed Kansas and Texas Tech destroyed West Virginia, which removed Kansas State's only route on this side of the flowchart and put the nail in the coffin of a painful end to the year. Next, Arizona State predictably destroyed Arizona, which finally eliminated Baylor, who had casually went on a 6-game winning streak to end the year, but their early season losses to the class of the Big 12 weighed them down. That leaves 4 teams vying for 2 Big 12 championship spots: BYU, Colorado, Arizona State, and Iowa State. BYU needs to win and have Iowa State lose to make the playoffs, otherwise they're out. And Iowa State wins, ending BYU's own painful season where they magically started 9-0 before losing in back-to-back weeks to Kansas and Arizona State.
Pass all picked off at the 40-yard line. Robinson, he might take it back and finally tackled at the 10. What a huge play!
Colorado is still alive by a thread. If Houston upsets BYU, sorry Colorado, you pinned your hopes on Houston. You're screwed. I'll give them a bit of credit. They were definitely better than last year, but that wasn't good enough. Next year is Shedeur and Hunter gone. It'll be very interesting to see how Mr. Affleck himself adjusts. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the Big 12 Championship chaos. Still alive, Arizona State and Iowa State. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. Army losing last week was a crushing blow, but Boise and UNLV winning this week meant that the Mountain West champ would finish above Army even if Army won their conference championship. The loss by Louisiana to South Alabama really did them in, but in reality they weren't functionally eliminated until a ranked-unranked Mountain West championship game was confirmed, as we already talked about. Marshall actually won their last 6 regular season games, but before this overtime win against James Madison, it was already clear that they were also not going to be able to jump the Mountain West champ. You know what could have changed that though? Not blowing a 23-5 lead to Georgia Southern. Boy, is that game gonna loom large for Marshall fans. Oh, and now your coach is gone. A Southern miss? Why? All this talk about Cam Ward, Cam Ward, Cam Ward. Unfortunately, Miami forgot they also need a defense to make the playoffs. How does blowing a 21-point lead to Syracuse to be eliminated altogether sound? South Carolina, I feel your pain. You just needed a bit more chaos to offset your early losses. I'm saying it, next year is your year. Don't waste it. The reinvigoration of this hated rivalry at home with an SEC championship berth in the balance. And Texas A&M gets absolutely owned by Texas's defense. Oh, that stings.
Don't worry, I'll talk extensively about this game soon enough.
Conference Championship Weekend Elimination.
UNLV shouldn't hang their heads. They had a great year. Only 3 losses. Unfortunately, 2 of them were to the only team standing in their way of a playoff berth. Now Barry Odom has gone to Purdue. So who is your new head coach, UNLV? Dan Mullen? Honestly, that's awesome. What a historic season this was for Iowa State. Finally getting 10 wins for the first time ever, tons of memorable moments, and they're only 1 championship game win away from making the college football playoffs. And they completely laid an egg. Get Cam Scatterboo. Well, Clemson beat SMU in the ACC championship game, which meant Clemson was gonna be a bid stealer and kicked Alabama out of the playoffs despite Alabama's incessant whining that their 3 regular season losses to checks notes, Tennessee, a 6-6 Vanderbilt, and a 6-6 Oklahoma where they only scored 3 points was somehow more deserving than a team whose only regular season loss was to 10-2 BYU. But that didn't stop these guys from trying to convince you otherwise. Oh, boo-hoo, Alabama's never gonna schedule a hard non-conference game again. Maybe beat the dregs of the SEC first, you crybabies.
The playoffs have been decided, but our eliminations are far from over. Round 1 elimination.
Speaking of crying, it was in full force for the first go-round of this 12-team playoffs. Indiana wasn't deserving. Yes, they were. They just lost to a better team. Tennessee wasn't deserving. Yes, they were. They just lost to a better team. Clemson wasn't deserving. Yes, they were. They just lost to a better team and almost could have come back if Dabo knew that lining up under center for a QB sneak was a thing that you're allowed to do. SMU wasn't deserving. Yes, they were. They just lost to a better team, and in fact, I'd go so far as to say they choked. SMU should have scored a touchdown in their first drive, but dropped it, and gave up 2 pick sixes in the first half, plus another interception for good measure. Clearly emblematic of a team not ready for the limelight just yet, but does that mean they didn't deserve to make the playoffs at all?
Yes, if you are a senator from Alabama. And I don't mean to be critical of Alabama, but although I do enjoy that, I don't mean to to be.
Quarterfinal elimination.
Arizona State's game started like a lot of others in the previous round. Get absolutely punched in the mouth at the very start. But unlike the others, they stayed standing. Their defense held firm, and although they agonizingly could not get into the end zone until the fourth quarter, they kept within striking distance and then struck.
Downfield.
And it is caught! And into the end zone goes BOLIS. Wants every bit of it, and it's intercepted! Scannaboo, straight ahead, driving goes Scannaboo has done it! We are all tied up in the ATL!
This fourth down play in overtime is going to be hanging over their heads for a long time to come, though. Great game regardless. You can have a good offense. You can have a good defense. But special teams win championships. 2 missed field goals. Boise makes those, and it's a completely different game we're talking about here. They definitely held their own on the field, at least. We shall see how they move forward from here with no more Genti to lean on to. Wait, this is how Oregon ended their hitherto undefeated season? 34 unanswered points to open the game in the Rose Bowl? Way to completely wash away everything you've achieved up to this point, Lanning. Here we go, the big question we have to ask ourselves. Is the narrative that Georgia lost this game because of this guy running into the ref funny?
It was a little funny.
Regardless, it's not true. Georgia looked profoundly beatable for large amounts of this season. They were finally outclassed for all 4 quarters of a game in this loss to Notre Dame.
Semifinal round elimination.
Every time I've watched Penn State play, not just this year but for years now, I've been impressed by all their players on both sides of the ball except for one. Quarterback. And for that reason, I never truly respected them this year, despite their fantastic defense. Wondering why Penn State hasn't won a championship since the 80s? Maybe get a quarterback that actually, I don't know, is clutch? Or at least scares you a little? Because with a better QB, Penn State not only wins this game, but probably goes undefeated this season as well. Whatever. When both defenses are elite and both quarterbacks are equally decent, the difference in these games will always come down to which coach is better. I've got 3 plays to show you. When Texas sent this DB to blitz and left absolutely nobody in the middle of the field, I knew they fucked up. When Texas sold out on the pass on 4th and 3, I knew they fucked up. And when Texas decided to do a pitch on the 1-yard line, I knew they fucked up. And the scoop and score 2 plays later only sealed it. And that, ladies and gentlemen, has brought us from 134 teams vying for the national championship to just 2. Let's talk about them real quick. The most interesting part of Notre Dame's season in my eyes is the impact the Northern Illinois loss had on the discourse of the entire league. All season, the entire college football world's view of Notre Dame was tainted, which in turn tainted the teams they beat. Navy, Army, Indiana got destroyed by Notre Dame? Oh, that must mean that Navy, Army, Indiana sucks, because Notre Dame sucks. Don't you remember they lost to Northern Illinois? Well, they have since proven that no, Notre Dame is actually just really damn good. They learned from that loss, and they've been firing on all cylinders for months. This is easily the best, most complete, and most well-coached Notre Dame team I've seen in my lifetime. And all it took was Brian Kelly thinking he was too good for y'all, huh? 2024 Ohio State is a tale of resilience. 2 heartbreaking losses at 2 critical moments during the regular season, both of which ended with Ohio State fans calling for Ryan Day's job. Well, much like Notre Dame, Ohio State learned from their mistakes. Just spam Jeremiah Smith. And when that gets taken away from you, like in the Texas game, it just opens up all their other playmakers to make plays, which they did. Not to mention an extremely athletic defense on the other side, too. For all the talk about Ryan Day's inability to have his teams take the next step, they sure have these playoffs. You know what's funny? The college football national champion this year is going to either be a team that lost at home to NIU or a team that lost at home to the middest incarnation of its biggest rival in years. And in a season as crazy as this one, isn't that all we could ask for? But I know what you're thinking. I haven't eliminated everyone yet. One of these 2 teams still has to go. Well, that's going to be a bit difficult given I'm releasing this video a week before the national championship actually happens, which is what I would have said if I wasn't able to do this.
Notre Dame
was eliminated in a
good
game, which means
Ohio State
is your national champion. Now all I have to do is, after the championship ends, get rid of the wrong teams with the YouTube video editor's trim feature.
No one will ever know
By the way, I have one suggestion for this playoff system going forward. A rebrand, if you will, because I want to keep the format, but I think we should start calling it an 8-team playoff with a play-in round beforehand. Think about it, a play-in round would be more exciting branding than just round 1, while also justifying the 4 conference champs having buys, now renamed auto bids, and it comes with an added bonus of stopping people from crying about missing the playoffs because now they're crying about missing the play-in instead. You'd be surprised how easy it is to stop people from complaining if you make what they're complaining about sound so much more pathetic. Anyway, now the video's over for real now. I'm going to bed. Go watch my Tulane videos. Bye!